A very warm welcome to the new episode of Ink and Insights. This is your host, Sumit Sharma Samir. I am extremely delighted to welcome Anjani Phuyal in my show today. Mr. Phuyal is a founder and global CTO of Jenice Solson, an IT consulting company. He's a mentor, facilitator, AWS ambassador, consultant, dreamer, leader, and changemaker. Earlier, he has worked with the Capital One of the largest bank in the United States, as a senior security manager, where he head the cyber division for the UK. He has provided a startup fund of more than $500,000 in the startup funding platform to over 200 plus startup companies. Having worked in the industrial sector for more than 15 years, he is helping MBA technology and innovation students to learn about management of information security and become a successful leader within the tech and tech-enabled organization in Nepal and internationally. Mr. Phuyal, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you very much for your warm welcome, Mr. Sumit. I'm very glad to be here and then share my story to your audience as well.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is mine. Anjani ji, please tell us about your background. Where did you do your schooling? Where did you go? Where did you do your college? How did you reach where you are today?
Thank you very much. So I am originally from Nepal, born and brought up in a city called Kathmandu. Kathmandu is the capital city of Nepal. Lots of people know about it, but I am a little bit outskirts of Kathmandu. So even though I am from capital, I would say I didn't get the privilege of being in the capital city itself. So it's an outskirt of Kathmandu, which means the place has all the necessary challenges. That's aware to a lot of people who is based out of Kathmandu itself. We are almost 12 kilometer away from Kathmandu. But when I grew up as a kid, the place was a village. Now it has converted into a big city itself. We had problem with electricity, problem with water, road infrastructure, and pretty much everything you can think of itself. I come from a very lower class background where my family were farmer, later turned into entrepreneur or business person, not again elite business itself. So my childhood, I grew up supporting my family. I helped them in farming, in agriculture. We used to have livestock, cow, hen, who gives poultry, eggs, and all those kind of things as well. We used to grow like vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, all the sag and all those kind of vegetables, and you used to sell it in the market.
Interesting. So you used to do it yourself with your parents?
Yeah. So I mean, I remember my school days. I think I started working very dedicatedly from the age of 12 or 13 itself, when I was in grade 8, I think. Unlike a lot of kids, who used to go to school and probably come back and have tiffin and then just play. I used to help my family doing all this kind of household stuff. And at the age of, I don't remember the age, but when I was in my school during, grade 9, grade 10, where, people term it as a iron gate for SLC and, school living certificate and everything, I used to actually, help my dad to sell the chicken egg in the market. So I used to carry the egg in the, bicycle on the side basket. Not sure if you can relate what I'm trying to explain. And then I used to go to the, the stores, local stores out there, and sell the egg. And once that is done, I used to go to the school, and then I, go back to my dad and help him in the evening as well. So that's how I finished my schooling. 11, 12 was again in a pretty much same way, helping my dad, running the business, which actually helps bring money to the family. And then, through that, paying the fees. I got two sisters, helping them to, pay their fees in the school as well. And after that, it's a typical, Nepali or probably the South Asian society itself, that when you are really good in studies, you got to do, science studies. So going 11 and 12 on science, a student almost 80% on SLC or something. I end up getting like 60% in science. So obviously, I mean, I was good in science, but I think probably the way how I was studying, it wasn't actually helping. So I, almost get into the engineering. So I get into the engineering. If you imagine a person, born and brought up in Kathmandu, I didn't know what the engineering entrance exam was about. Didn't know about the ministry exams, didn't know about the Institute of Engineering exams. So I know a senior brother who was doing engineering, which is just nearby, a college nearby to my home. So basically, I just followed him, and then I went to a college called Nepal Engineering College, because we were local
Right.
to that college, and I think probably I did better on the entrance exam as well. So they give some discounted scholarship. So I end up just doing engineering, which is very much nearby to my home itself. And again, in the
Okay.
engineering subject I choose was electronics and communication. And again, you might be thinking like, why electronics? So I think it's that the mindset, the deep-rooted mindset that if you are good, you got to do like really tough, or like you study very
Okay.
hard as well. So
Right.
again, getting first division, going on science, and then selecting the tough subject like electronics and communication engineering without even understanding
Right.
what that actually entails,
What it is
what is
all about. Yeah.
nothing. I mean, I just went into that. And the only reason I didn't do computing was like, okay, computer engineering is, what is it? Like, I mean, it's just about learning computer, which you can do easily,
Right.
just like, learning
Very
how to
true.
drive a car. So, you go into electronics. And that's how I just went into electronics. I just passed. Actually, I just managed to pass the 4 year. Now I tell all of my audience that I didn't do my engineering full time, even though I mean there's no concept of part time in South Asian countries, as you are already aware as well, because I was running my own business, basically helping my dad during my 11th and 12th. I had a confidence to open my own grocery store. We call it like a wholesale store,
Oh,
like a distribution itself. So I was running my
wow.
own branch as a full time. Then my study was like a part time. And finally I got into the engineering degree, completed it, not in a very great grade, or I think we used to have a GPA itself.
Yeah.
And after that, I sort of realized, okay, now I have engineering degree. I'm very good on what I do in terms of computing. I mean, during the electronics degree itself, what I realized is electronics and computer engineering is pretty much similar. I mean, you just
Mhm.
do like a lot of subjects in a similar pattern itself, right? And after
Right.
that, I was like, okay, shall I continue the business, the entrepreneurship journey that I was doing, or shall I
Mhm.
just shut it down completely and then just go into a different, spectrum itself?
Right.
And then I was like, okay, I think I was fairly successful on what I did, throughout my schooling and college degree. So I just
Yeah.
quit everything, handed over back to my family, my sisters, my dad, and then I started teaching, technical subjects like Microsoft Certified System Engineering, hardware.
Mhm.
There's like something called A plus, which is more of a hardware maintenance, network maintenance, and the Microsoft certification.
Mhm.
Teaching on one of the institute for almost a year, I gained all the necessary skills that need to be done. Probably more frustrated from the teaching, I went into the industry. So my first corporate job was with Thomson Nepal. Not sure if you know about Thomson Nepal. They're one of the
Mhm.
first probably multinational advertisement agency working in Nepal. So I was managing a Thomson Nepal IT infrastructure. After that, I worked for Ministry of Finance as a UN consultant. That's my
Okay.
journey till Nepal, and after that,
And
I
and
came
and
to UK.
Anjanaji, how did you end up in UK, and how did you end up setting up this company that you are running it right now globally? I think, and how many branches do you have already set up in different countries right now?
Sure. So again, just connecting back to the journey from Nepal itself. So at the moment, we are. So I am CEO of Jenice Solson. It's a UK headquartered company. We have
Mhm.
around 200 people working globally, and now we have presence
Right.
in 11 countries. On the western
Mhm.
side, we have presence in UK, US, Finland, Spain, and Ireland. On the South Asian country, we have presence in Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and we have presence in Australia as well. So we are looking to
Yeah.
expand in countries like Bahrain and Sri Lanka as well. Our recent
Great.
expansion is in Nigeria in Africa. So
Wonderful.
before I go into the entrepreneurship journey in UK. So my last job in UNDP in Nepal. After that, I came to UK to study masters, MSc Computer and Network Security. Unlike
Yeah.
my grades in undergrad, I managed to get distinction in my master's degree. That actually gave me a
Mhm.
confidence that I mean, I wasn't actually that bad on the technology subjects, despite my
Right.
undergrad poor grade itself. Getting the distinction there, and getting the practical perspective of the courses, I started
Yeah.
exploring opportunities here. Fast forward, worked for almost 12, 13 years in UK with some of the major companies. You mentioned Capital One Bank. That was the last corporate
Yeah.
job I did in UK. Before that, I was working for Rackspace. With Rackspace, it's one of the largest consulting firm based out of US, headquartered in US, but they have a pretty big presence in UK. So we did consulting to some of the very major world-class organizations itself. That gave me
Yeah.
confidence on doing consulting, helping clients, that even on the latest technology like cloud, DevOps, and automation as well. That gave me confidence
Mhm.
to open Jenice Solson. Now we are advanced consulting partner of Amazon. We are the company to introduce Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Zoom, Novifo kind of brands in Nepal, and we are pioneer in
Yeah.
Nepal and Bangladesh. But then we have been, working, providing consulting service to some of the major banks in US, in UK, and pretty much, all over the world as well.
Great job. Great job, Anjaniji. That it gives a lot of inspiration. It provides when we talk with people like you. Please tell us what are the areas that you are working on with your company right now.
So again, connecting back to why I started the company itself. So again, working in Capital One Bank, what I realized, I was doing like one of the top-notch job. I mean, working on awesome technology, helping the bank move in cloud and everything as well, right? Now,
Mhm.
looking back to where I came from, I still remember my days of going to the college. So not sure if you know much about what I studied. So Nepal Engineering College is actually situated in Bhaktapur, but that is just bordering to Kathmandu. And in order to go to
Right.
the college, we have to go through like a field of paddy, basically. So basically, I could not wear proper shoes. I was wearing sandals,
Mhm.
just putting my sleeves on the top as well, and then just walking through the muddy road, crossing the
Mhm.
river where there was no breeze. I mean, that's how I studied, right? But
Right.
even that time, the problem was, as a Nepalese student, I didn't have access to technology back then. I never
Mhm.
could have like access to online payment system to subscribe any international domain registration, like maybe website hosting and all those kind of things as well. And
Right.
my
I
journey,
think I
15 years
there were
back,
hardly any facilities like that during those days, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was almost
Yeah.
impossible. I mean, I got lucky that one of my school senior who happened to be in US actually helped me to do set
Okay.
up those kind of things itself, right? So
Right.
after
Mhm.
15 years, myself staying in one of the fancy room in Capital One Bank, when I thought
Mhm.
about what is the situation of Nepalese students in Nepal as well, I mean, it was no
Mhm.
different. I mean, 15 years, hardly there was any dent at all, right? So I was
Right.
like, if I stay in Capital One Bank, I'm definitely gonna make my life much happier. Good salary, my family's gonna be happy, good home, and everything as well. But what is the impact that I wanted to create? I mean, it's not gonna create a wider impact. And one of the reason
Right.
of quitting the job, Capital One, was, can I make a wider impact? So
Mhm.
quitting the job, opening the company, we are the first foreign direct investment company to work on cloud consulting domain in Nepal itself. So we opened the
Okay.
branch over there. We introduced brands like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and now a country where there were hardly a handful of people who knew cloud. Now there are tens of thousands of people who are actually cloud aware. There are a lot of people who are cloud certified as well, and that's what I feel really proud about. What we managed to do in Nepal, and the same thing we
Yeah.
are now replicating in countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan and various other countries where the access isn't there at all.
Yeah. What are the recent developments in the field of IT or cybersecurity and digital innovations right now, Anjaniji?
So again, when we set up the company, we always wanted to work on cutting edge technologies, because there's no point of fighting or competing on something which is already out there. We do not want to
Mhm.
compete with what is already out there, right? So the whole point is you know working on cloud computing, which is the cutting edge technology back then when I
Right.
started. And then
Mhm.
everything is now building on top of cloud computing. So if you say cloud computing as a base, so there's a big
Mhm.
data, right? Now that is on top of cloud as well. Then there's the artificial intelligence, which is leveraging the
Yeah.
power of cloud computing, and then using the data to do the prediction model and analytics as well, right? Now there has come Gen AI
Right.
as well, and that needs enormous computing as well. So everything now,
Mhm.
cybersecurity is there, IoT, AR, VR, all of those things are actually powered on top of cloud computing itself. So as a company, obviously our bottom line is cloud computing, but we help companies digitize, help them move on cloud, help them build awesome application on cloud as well. That could be microservices, serverless application, and at the same time help them be secure as well. So cyber security is another area as well. We have been building awesome tools with the latest generative AI technology that is out there in the market as well. So yeah, these are like some of the areas that we actually work to help our customers. But we do a lot of research on what's upcoming as well. So now if you think of like quantum computing and quantum internet is something that is coming on very hype as well. Just like the Y2K problem in maybe 2027 itself, I expect quantum computing and quantum internet impacting the life of human being itself. And 2030 probably it's going to be coming into the mainstream itself. And it's actually bringing a very wider problem itself. If you think of like how the Y2K impacted back in 2000, now with quantum internet and quantum computing, all the security protocols, all the security encryption mechanism that is currently in place, that's actually going to be outdated itself. So I mean,
so
it's a very challenging.
So before you proceed, Anjani, it's a very interesting area. So I'm prompted to ask. I'm very inquisitive. You spoke about quantum computing. So how is it going to alter our lives? You also said that by 27 or 2030, it's going to be a part of our lives. So how is it going to alter our lives, if I may ask?
So now, I mean, if you imagine, right? So I cannot crack into your email address and password because it is secured by a username and password, and I don't know that, or I cannot guess that, or there is no computer in the world which can guess that login mechanism within a set number of times. I mean, it can do, but it's going to take like, I don't know, 4,000 years or something with the current technology in place, right? So who would live 4,000 years to crack someone else's password, right? So, I mean, that's why people just give it up. But now what's going to happen is with quantum computing, the current mechanism of, the speed of computing itself is going to change. It's going to be, I mean, I wouldn't say even increase. It's going to be like, I don't know how many fold it is, right? So that 4 years is suddenly becoming like, I don't know. I mean, do not quote me on the numbers, but 4 days, for example, right? So if I can crack your, authentication in 4 days, then I would be definitely tempted to do that, right? Now the current, let's say the Wi-Fi security mechanism or network security mechanism or the encryption mechanism, I mean, all of those mechanisms could be cracked very easily itself.
So will there be anything left, Anjaniji, that won't be cracked of human beings?
No, absolutely. That's what is very interesting and then worrying at the same time, because the current technology that we say is very, very secure is not going to be secure anymore. So we need to start planning on making things more secure. It's a continuous process, I mean, there is nothing that's going to be, bulletproof for longer time. I mean, over the time, it's going to be obsolete. And that's where, we got to work on as well. And hence, I'm always excited in this field because there's constant challenge, and that actually makes people, excited, motivated, and, do a meaningful thing to, solve the human purpose as well.
So with all the changes, I'm kind of inquisitive. As a leader and entrepreneur in the field yourself, what does it mean to be living in the age of such complexity right now? I mean, Anjaniji, you are just telling us that, everything would be kind of cracked. None of the things would be secured. And what does it mean to be living under such time? How do we prepare ourselves?
Absolutely. So if you think of like how I treat, technology as an engineer, I do not feel happy by, doing a world-class innovation just from the engineering perspective. I think the innovation should support or help mankind. I think that is very, very key. And now, if you think of how the technology has actually, evolved and supported mankind. Now, I mean, if you imagine a patient with, heart disease, you could actually put pacemaker. You could actually, detect the pattern and then automatically trigger the ambulance, or, I mean, so many things you could do, right? So you're actually saving that person who would have died probably. So if you think of like, I've seen a use case where a parent is actually monitoring their daughter's I forget, it's a type A or type B, diabetes, where insulin is actually fitted there, and then if there's a problem with the insulin level or something, it alarms the phone, and then the parent can actually top up. So I mean, if you think of, and when I was listening to the parent, she was like, I do not want her to not eat anything, even though she is like diabetic or something. I do not want to take her childhood away. I want her to eat like sugar, ice cream, I mean, whatever she likes. And if it is controlled by insulin level, I can do that, and I can do that with a like a press of a button in my phone itself. And she was in like somewhere in Europe, daughter in US, and she was giving her daughter a meaningful life, and she was living a meaningful childhood life as well, right? So if you think of, I mean, a lot of people debate that technology doesn't bring good things. I definitely disagree. It brings a lot of good things. It depends how you want to use it. Obviously, I mean, there's good and bad on every side. So let's not talk about the bad side of things. I believe technology is here to help mankind, to make it better. And now to go back to your question itself, with every technology, it comes problem. And that's where, we enthusiasts as a people, as a company are there to help overcome such problems. Hence, all the companies, they need to be, upfront, vocal, and then look into the future as well, and then be prepared what changes need to be done in order to mitigate the risk that is associated itself. We cannot run away from it. We should rather embrace it, and then make it secure, make it better, upgrade when needed, to embrace with our life itself.
Right. So, and in that context, how can country like Nepal really tap into these new innovations, and how can country like Nepal prepare itself for these new challenges? I mean, despite knowing that we have limited resources in all these areas, what can be done about it?
Absolutely. So again, when we talk about resources, yes, resources were very important probably 15 years back, because anything that we need to do, we need to buy the server, we need to buy the network, we need to buy the internet. I mean, everything was resources. But now with the innovation in cloud computing, you don't actually need to do that. You just need to have a basic infrastructure like electricity and internet. You could actually access cloud computing servers through that internet. You could actually get like the quantum computers, likes of quantum computers, or the likes of like maybe pretty supercomputers staying in Nepal, which could be located somewhere in, I don't know, maybe in India or in Singapore or in US, UK, wherever. Maybe if economy permits, it could be actually somewhere in Nepal data center as well. So now the resource constraint is not a constraint at all. What Nepalese people and Nepalese companies, what they need to do is they need to start thinking more from the broader mindset perspective. I mean, staying in Nepal and thinking from the Nepal perspective is not enough. I think they need to broaden up. They need to see how the world is heading. If you see like Pentagon is using cloud, it doesn't matter, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, I mean, they're using public cloud. I mean, if you think of NASA launching the Land Rover in the moon or in the Mars, that is actually powered by cloud itself. Singapore government digital platform is all powered by cloud. UK government platform gov.uk, which manages everything, including taxation, visa, pensions, everything is powered by cloud itself. I mean, if you can point me out like which company doesn't use cloud, I mean, it's virtually almost impossible of company who doesn't use cloud. Now usage of cloud will actually bring AI, data, cyber security in one place. So what I would suggest Nepalese engineers, Nepalese entrepreneurs, Nepalese business professionals and companies is, let's embrace the technology flood that is coming. Our evolution doesn't need to be the evolution that the world has gone through, because we don't need to go through the age of like industrial age and then all those kind of different phases. I mean, we can leapfrog and then come into the latest technology age itself, just like how very small countries in the world has shown their expertise in the world. We could be one of the hub. Nepal could be one of the hub where we could be a country with expertise on cloud computing, AI, big data, and companies in US and UK and Australia, Canada, they will actually come to us for such expertise, and we would be able to produce a lot of awesome startups which could become like unicorns who are growing from Nepal itself. I think if we change our mindset, It's not going to be too much difficult. We don't need to wait for another 50, 60 years or 100 years to do it. I mean, within 10 to 15 years time, we could actually, make this change happen. But today is the right time to make the first step towards that.
Exactly. That's a very great point. We got to change our mindset, Anjaniji. So before I wrap up, I have a last question for you. What are some valuable lessons you have learned along your entrepreneurial journey that you'd like to share with the others, particularly the younger generations one?
Again, if you think of a lot of startup companies, we see Amazon was just, I don't know, maybe 2000 company, and then now they are suddenly so big. Netflix wasn't there. So this, the startup culture, the flourish, the success actually excites a lot of people. But what a lot of youngsters need to understand, you only see the success, you do not see the failure. In order to build one Netflix, either the same person or thousands, tens of thousands person has gone through so much failure. Now I think the real question is, are you prepared for that failure? Can you stand up once you fell down? I think it is very, very important. If you think you cannot stand up, maybe entrepreneurship is not for you at this time. I'm not saying it's not for you anytime at all, right? It could be there, but what I think people need to do is they need to understand, they need to learn first, they need to be expert in their field, then only think of doing the entrepreneurship. Because in Nepal, I would bluntly say there has been a culture of entrepreneurship, celebrity entrepreneurship. I mean, you don't care about your company, you have hardly employed 10 or more people, but then you are there everywhere doing the interviews and not focusing on your core company itself. Nepal is a very tough market because population is very small. Opening a company doesn't automatically become successful. You need to work really, really hard. Hence, build your expertise, find your niche. There is no one who can stop you to become successful. Again, on the entrepreneurship, you don't again all the time need to be entrepreneur. If you really want to be entrepreneur, you can go for it, but do not fall on the peer pressure to be entrepreneur. Being entrepreneur is wearing 10, 20, 30 different hats. Just being engineer is not enough. Just being maybe finance is not enough. You need to have so much expertise, and sometimes you feel like you want to give up, but you should keep on going and going and going. It's a very tough journey. It's rewarding as well, but again, I would say it's not for everyone. What I mean by that is not everyone would want to work for 18 hours, not focusing too much on their family or their friends. It hurts. It's not like being an entrepreneur, you don't want to focus on your family or friends, but then you have a mission and then you have to complete that mission. So it's a very tough challenge and tough choice. So if you really want to go on that journey, it's rewarding, but please do a lot of research and be fully prepared before jumping into that journey itself.
Ultimately, life is all about calibration of your choices, isn't it, Anjaniji? But thank you so much for your time. I mean, it was really lovely talking with you. I mean, I'm sure that your interview would inspire a lot of young Nepalis and young people across the globe, because you are already global leader, and I'm sure that your company would rise more and you would set more examples. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me on your show as well. You have a good time.